Hello everybody, welcome to Innovation Talks. This is the Innovation Talks. We invite speakers from all facets of life to give on-campus lectures to our student body. So today is our first speaker of the year, Mr. Jack Burns. He's the founder and the CEO of Parkway Ford Heritage Mission, and his talk today will be on the mechanical art and the power of God's beauty. So let's give a warm Pacifica welcome to Mr. Jack Burns.
Thank you. All right. So it's great to be here. So I was born into a car family. My wife says I have engine oil in my blood. My dad owned a Ford car dealership up in Pasadena called Parkway Ford. So when I was growing up, I loved everything about cars. I'm a real car guy. In Martin Thornton's book, Christian Proficiency, he writes, "All things are significant, including lobster salad and motor cars, because of the incarnation and for no other reason whatsoever." After high school, I attended Biola College so I could be close to home to work on my hot rod motor car. I majored in business administration, which was useful when I started up my business. I had a hobby shop in Costa Mesa, about a mile away from here, that eventually became my business, Burns Stainless, in 1989. Around that time, when I started my business, a prominent race car publication came knocking on my door one day. The editor of a publication called Circle Track magazine came and asked me if I would, he had known about me through some advertising I did, and asked me if I would write an article on stainless steel that they could publish in their magazine. And I had never done anything like that before. I said reluctantly, yeah, I'll do that, as long as you got an editor to help me through it, which they did. So I wrote this article, and when they sent me the proof copy, they had an introduction of me in there and said, Jack Burns, a supplier to major NASCAR teams down in North Carolina. And I said, wait a minute, I don't have any business like that. You can't put that in, that's a lie. He says, we're gonna leave it in and they're gonna come. And boy, did they come. So I was very unsettled about that, but they came, and so my business grew exponentially from that point on, and mostly centered, 95% of my business was down in North Carolina to the NASCAR teams. And here's what they bought. I'm going to pass these around. This is a merge collector, and this is what they started buying. The reason this thing worked, it made more horsepower. All they had to do is slide off one of their collectors on their header tubes, which I'll explain later, and slide this on, and the cars were, not only did they have more power, but on the track it worked much better. And these are made in such a way that we have to pre-bend the stainless tubing, and forms a pyramid in the middle or a spike in the middle. It's very difficult to weld. We have to get inside with a special straight tip pencil torch and weld it up on the inside as well as the outside. And it's labor intensive, but it just makes more power the way it's designed. That's one that we make out of stainless steel. And here is one made out of titanium, which NASCAR can't use. They don't allow it, but motorcycles and other things, this would burn up on a NASCAR car anyway, because it doesn't handle the temperature. But I love the lightweight of that. That's a cool thing. Since this is an innovation talk, I have to at least briefly tell you about innovation that we did at Burns Stainless. We were the first in our industry to start up a mail order business for exhaust header components, like stainless steel bends, those collectors, and we also, like I say, popularized those merge collectors in NASCAR. We developed a new style header system for NASCAR that has been developed since we first introduced it back in the early 90s, and they're still using the same basic design today. We created a computer-designed software to assist our do-it-yourself customers as well as the race teams that we would spec out the diameters, the lengths of the header tubes that specifically for their engine combinations. We had this a bunch of data that we developed this design software to do this. We added it as an add-on for our customers. And we didn't charge anything for that, but it was just an incentive for them to build things the right way. Because otherwise, the way it had been done before, if someone would want a header for their car, they'd have to bring it in and we build it in our shop. But this allowed us to expand worldwide. And we did expand worldwide. We became very popular down in Australia for the supercar, the V8 supercar series down there. They would buy almost exclusively from us. A lot of European customers, and let alone all around the United States. Next item. This is one of the things that we had a lot of fun designing. This is a CAD design process. This was designed as a collector muffler system for drag racing applications for a complete full-bodied car that sat very low. They were requiring mufflers at the time, but big mufflers, big round mufflers would get smashed because the cars were so low or they just wouldn't fit. So I designed this thing this way. We designed it in-house, and this is a casting. It's a very thin wall casting. It's a merged collector that's welded in one end. This is carbon fiber, and so that the carbon fiber doesn't burn up, we have some insulation material on the inside that's sound absorption material, but it also resists the heat from transferring to the carbon fiber, so it doesn't burn up. This thing, I can talk more about some of the interesting designs on it, but this thing produced as much horsepower as our non-muffler systems, and which is almost a surprise. But I'm most proud of this because I think this exemplifies the art, the mechanical art of what we can do. And we did this about 25 years ago. This is all titanium and carbon. What we sold was made out of stainless. Okay. So, burned stainless is still carrying on the tradition. I no longer own burned stainless. I sold it in 2017, but the current owner that bought it was my longtime engineer, and he's carrying on the tradition of innovation. I was just over there earlier this week, and he has the latest laser welding technology to build some supercar mufflers for some of the hyper cars today made out of exotic materials. So he's carrying on the tradition. So since I sold that business in 2017, I've been keeping busy I still do one-off header systems like this. So this is a pro stock header, and when I design something like this, actually I got some pictures I need to pass around too. I'll talk in just a minute. So I'll do some one-off headers that are commissioned for me, and one of the headers that I just finished doing, I'm going to pass this around. This was a header system for a very rare one of 3 built Shelby Can-Am road race cars, and this was commissioned to go over to England, over the UK, to the Goodwood Revival that just happened last month, one of 12 cars to help celebrate the 100th birthday anniversary of Carroll Shelby that's no longer with us. So this is the picture of it constructed, this is the finished product, and I had it, he wanted it painted black because even though it's made out of stainless, he wanted to make it look like it would have been period correct, mild steel. I had to create that based on archival photos that were found at the Ford Motor, or at the Henry Ford Museum, and I had to study that very carefully in order to reconstruct something that is in the spirit of what it was built back then, because this had no headers on it, this car. Another header project that I love, the art of this picture. This was a Bonneville header that I built for a Bonneville streamliner that had to be fit in very tight bodywork, because this streamliner with this Chevy engine in it, normally aspirated, went over 300 miles an hour, and I had to package this thing very tightly. And all those pipes are equal length, by the way. Besides the headers that I still build, I volunteer and I serve at our church, and I oversee the Parkway Forward Heritage Mission, which is a 501c3 nonprofit that was birthed during COVID as something to share the presence and the healing power of Jesus Christ in the drag race, to the drag racing community. During my time of prayer, I went into our church to spend time to know God better, and by myself during COVID in our sanctuary, and was just on my knees praying for a lot of people that I knew were having a hard time during COVID, and I just wanted to get closer to God. And at the end of that period, it was just before Easter of 2020, I had a creative burst of energy that came forth. Actually, it was right after a confession. Something bubbled up within me that I had to fess up. And right after that, I'm not saying that this happens for everybody, but I had this creative burst of energy that it was a gift from God, which was this whole project that I'm going to share with you. This race motor project that I wanted to build that takes it to the next level of what's ever been done before, and using some of the technology, high-level computer modeling programs, artificial intelligence and machine learning, and professional data acquisition hardware like combustion pressure analysis that's used in NASCAR and current Formula One engine development. An incredible burst of creativity that came in my brain. I didn't almost know how to contain it. I just said, thank you, Lord. Thank you for this vision. But that's for me. What about you, Lord? And so I had to seek him out in prayer, and this is what was birthed out of that, was this Parkway Forward Heritage Mission concept. But I had to take steps of faith by practicing in our Anglican tradition our ancient rhythm of prayer that we practice reading through the Book of Common Prayer. And this is to know Christ and to be a faithful presence for him in the world. And so as I prayed, God would reveal himself every step of the way. I didn't know where I was going with this. And so he revealed to me, okay, how about this race car project? I want you to call this guy that's up in Canada. And remember, this is in COVID. And the border closure between Canada and the U.S., there's no way I could go up and see this car that was for sale. It looked like to be a very nice race. It's a Mustang, tube frame Mustang. I'm going to pass a picture of it around. This is a mini Pro Stock drag race car that has a small block Ford engine in it. And some of these parts we're developing for this engine. And this car, even with a small block Ford engine, has gone just about 190 miles an hour in the quarter mile. And it's a stick shift car. Most of the drag race cars today run automatics, but this is a stick shift car, and I have a picture of the transmission in it, so I'll pass this around too. Since I couldn't go up and actually see this car in person, I had to ask around the people that had seen the actual car, some friends of mine that knew about the car, and they said, you can't go wrong buying this thing. It is really a first-class car. It exemplifies mechanical art. So I bought it sight unseen, but I couldn't get it right away because the border closure. The owner wanted to bring it down. He has some business down here, but he couldn't get through the border for a number of months. And that's a whole nother story how he finally got it through. But anyway, once it showed up, once he delivered it, it not only did it meet my expectations. It exceeded them. It was really a stunning car. So I have it over in my shop now. But we haven't run it yet because we're still working on the engine development. It came with 2 engines that were already partway done of what I wanted to do, and we're taking it to the next step. And so this motor you see here is one of the 2 motors, and it'll be completed as of Monday, I think, to be ready to run on our dynamometer to test this thing. So, and this will just be the baseline of which we tune from there and make more power. So, by the way, this motor is 342 cubic inch. It's a 2-valve pushrod motor, and it puts out over 1,000 horsepower with carburation, no power adders.
Is it naturally aspirated?
Naturally aspirated, yep. So, and we want to run it up to somewhere. Our ultimate goal is 1,200 horsepower. I don't know if we're going to make it, but that's our goal. And we're going to twist this thing up north of 12,000 RPM. So I chose the name Parkway Ford Heritage Mission to pay homage to my father's dealership in Pasadena. He was a faithful witness himself of God. And so I don't have the story already compiled. This is way before the days of the internet, so there is nothing out there on it. So I get to pay him homage and pay my father honor by naming him, naming the mission by him. The mission continually develops as I continually am in my practice of prayer. And God led me to start a metal shop welding class called Metal Discipleship. The pilot class includes homeschool students and their fathers. So I dare say that not many of you have ever been into had a metal shop class or a shop class of any sort, right? Okay, so that's what this is all about. I grew up, we had metal shop, we had wood shop, we had automotive shop, we had a lot of different shop classes that we get to use our hands to build stuff. So this is what it's attempting, or what I'm doing is I'm coming alongside these students and their fathers that have never had anything like this to get them to work with their hands. Right, Jay? Jay and his son, I have a picture of you that I want to share. Jay is one of my favorite people of all time. And so, here's a picture of him and his son Lincoln over at my shop working. He's been tasked as his father over his son to work with, to learn how to use this bandsaw. Here's another picture of me mentoring a couple of students, and on the back side, this is a fun one. This is one of the homeschool moms that wanted to learn how to weld. Now, this metal shop class just started up this year. So the first project that I'm having them do, right, and we're in the process of doing this, is this Celtic cross. If you know the story of the Celtic cross and how it originated, it's very ancient. Wanted to make a metal cross look very ancient by having a patina on it. I'm having the kids learn how to put a patina on it, and also how to build these, and it's been a fun project, and they get to learn about the story. This is part of the spiritual formation overview that they get to tell this. They get to take this home and tell their moms especially about a Celtic cross. And now I get back to my header. I want to talk about some of the values of being really, really good. And why make things beautiful? In order to make a header functional, it has to have the right sizes. We got a couple of different tube diameters in here. You can hardly tell with the transitions that I made in this, but each step length is the same on each tube. All these tubes bolt onto the cylinder head of the engine. Individual cylinders feed into these. The exhaust gases flow into these. And they all have to be equal length. And in order to make this, and this is a very lightweight material called Inconel, which is a trade name for a higher grade of stainless steel that's got more nickel and chromium in it. So because it's a tougher material, you can run a thinner thinner thickness on the tubing, make it much more lightweight, but it'll still be durable at elevated temperatures. I have to practice patience, perseverance, excellence, and attention to detail. When you go with this thin wall stuff, the fitment is crucial in order to be able to just tack these things together, let alone weld them, because it's so thin. If you have any ovalization of the tube, it's the way the tubing is bent. It's got a ball mandrel on the inside that is pulled around this ball mandrel, but the forces in the tubing cause it to ovalize. So when I cut the tube pieces apart in order to put a header together, I have to reshape them round, and the thinner the material, the more difficult it is to get to match up. So this is a very lightweight header that weighs, I think, less than 5 pounds. Is that about right? You can come up later and lift it up. It's very lightweight. This is my crowning glory. This is the intake manifold for a Pro Stock engine. This is a little bit larger than what we're going to run on our Ford motor. This was CNC machined out of a billet or a solid piece of aluminum. And the workmanship on this and the tooling path for the CNC machine to do this, it is, there is no other tunnel ram type plenum manifold that looks like this. This is a one-off thing, and it's just a work of art, and it's this particular one, if someone had to commission this to be built, I can't even tell you how much it would cost, but it would probably be $100,000 or something like that. It's almost priceless. So, you guys don't even know what carburetor, well, some of you do know what carburetors, okay. Well, these are very specific racing carburetors. They're ultra tunable. They have 4 or 5 different intermediate circuits which feed the air and the fuel in just precisely, so it accelerates that much more efficiently down the track. These carburetors, in order for us to make the power that we need to make at extremely high RPM, the carburetors that are on the picture that will soon be replaced or refreshed up here, they're smaller carburetors. These allow the airflow that we need for ultra high RPM. All right, there it is. These are little dinky carburetors in comparison to those. These are the cool things that I brought in for show and tell, and let alone the pictures. Oh, one other thing. Art and innovation are very deep in burned stainless. I brought in a couple of catalogs from the past. This is from 2002, one of our catalogs, The Art of Exhaust Technology. This is from 2006, Relentless Innovation in Exhaust Technology. So the fact that I'm here speaking to you about an innovation talk and about mechanical art, it runs deep in our DNA of burned stainless, and me, especially me. So as I am going to close now in what I'm going to, before I open up the question and answers, as God continues to develop this mission, more mechanical art will be created, including we're working on some new technology that we may even patent. So we are just about ready, like I said, to run this initial baseline engine on the dynamometer. The engine will be put on this dynamometer and it'll be run and tested. It'll feed out the torque numbers of the engine on this dynamometer so that we can convert it into horsepower and just see what it does. Part of the process is we are going to gather a whole bunch of data to feed into our computer so that we can put it into a computer model that we're building, that we iterate back and forth between the high-tech computer model and what it finds for the next step, and then we iterate it, or we update the engine combination, the real thing, to what the computer model says and go back and forth, and that's how Formula One does it these days. So we get to see the power of God's beauty in action on the dynamometers. I just had to say that.